Hello my Mercurial mercenaries! So the Flaming Lips have just released a new album and it's called Oczy, Mlody. Sounds to me like Parker from the Thunderbirds offering some OXO to his boss. OXO, my lady! I am sure, however, that it has some profound meaning. The Flaming Lips, let's give a bit of background here to my relationship with the Flaming Lips, not sexually. The Flaming Lips, bearing in mind that I was a big fan of Britpop in the 90s, and around the same sort of time and before that, the Flaming Lips were very much an experimental band, kind of experimental alternative. Remember alternative music on MTV2? The Flaming Lips were very much an alternative band, experimental band. Something I didn't learn about really till later, but when the Flaming Lips released their late 90s album, The Soft Bulletin, that's the time that I became aware of them. And for me, The Soft Bulletin, although it was an album by a band from America, it was kind of the pinnacle of what Britpop for me was trying to achieve. The Soft Bulletin achieved it. Now it turns out that perhaps the Flaming Lips were told by the record company that after all the experimental music they'd done, they needed to come up with something commercial. And it's to their credit that they just did that with bells and whistles on top. For me, The Soft Bulletin was perfection. And I listened to it again earlier today just to make sure that I wasn't remembering it wrong, and it is still perfection. It's not every album that you lived through in the past that you can listen to again and still hear gold running through its veins. But The Soft Bulletin is that album. Now it had personal meaning for me because it was an album that I listened to in the car when I was driving to and from things that I didn't necessarily want to drive to and from. And it meant something emotionally to me. Songs like Waiting for Superman and Feeling Yourself Disintegrate. It was an album of sorrow, but overall incredible joy, and Racing for the Prize perhaps goes down on my list of greatest songs of all time. There's something totally triumphant and jubilant about the way that song opens with the kind of looped, sampled drums and just smashing in your ears, smashing true happiness in your ears. They had commercial success with that. People then heard about them, like me. They followed it up with an album called Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. Perhaps their crowning glory. And if you had to listen to anything by the Flaming Lips today, go and listen to The Soft Bulletin and Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. Those two albums stand up. They stand up now. Then they released an album called At War with the Mystics, and to me they lost it. They lost it, and they lost me. Now they've done many more things throughout the noughties and throughout the 2010s. Lots of experimental things, lots of collaborations. They seem to become a collaborations band. But one thing the Flaming Lips always did, even in the period of time when I wasn't really listening to them, they were always a kind of concept band, of concept albums. They kind of carried on that mantle of Pink Floyd doing Dark Side of the Moon. In fact, the Flaming Lips did a whole covers album where they recreated Dark Side of the Moon in an even more experimental vein. The Flaming Lips are a band of people with ideas, whether it be a 24-hour song or recreating Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which I loved. I loved that album. I'd suggest you do check that out. It's interesting. It might be difficult listening for some of you, but it's a really great album. And when I think about the Flaming Lips, I do think concepts, experimentation, a singer who's not afraid to have long, wild grey hair, and collaborations with Miley Cyrus. Now I quite like Miley Cyrus, and she's kind of become a bit of a muse for the Flaming Lips. And indeed, when we come to Oczy, my lady, Miley Cyrus does feature. She is kind of a new member of the band. So, although albums like Embryonic and The Terror have kind of passed me by, and I can't really comment on how good they were, I listened to Oczy, my lady. And for me, it does fit alongside The Soft Bulletin and Yoshimi battles the pink robots. So, if you need to hear nothing else, and if you're not a fan of long videos, my advice to you is if you liked the soft bulletin and you liked Yoshimi battles the pink robots, you will like Oczy, Mlody. And here we are today, Oczy, Mlody. The album starts with the song Oczy, Mlody. And in the way that the Flaming Lips do, the song has beautiful, muffled thumps. The drums are beautiful, muffled thumps. Listen to the song, you'll know what I mean. And when I heard this, and that kind of ethereal quality that only the Flaming Lips can truly pull off, I was expecting good things. A great opening track. And then into track 2, how? Question mark, question mark. Looping, twisting vocals, that buzzsaw bass that the Flaming Lips do so well. It's a proper song. I'm all for experimentation, but give me a proper song. They're giving me a proper song. Then the drums enter properly, and you get this sense that they could go to the heights of Yoshimi battles the pink robots. You're expecting this. It's only track 2, but you're thinking, the Flaming Lips are back. They're back. Then comes a song called There Should Be Unicorns, and my initial reaction was, this sounds like something that could have been off the Wipeout soundtrack from the first Wipeout game on the PlayStation back in 1995. It does an interesting thing, this song. It has drums being used as a melody. Listen to the way the toms work, going down in descending pitches throughout the whole song. It is experimental, but still in a proper song structure. I like it. A little bit of Muse I can hear, a little bit of Muse, a little bit of narration during the song, which kind of keeps that idea of the Flaming Lips producing concept albums. I think this album is a concept album, but this is only an initial listen, and I haven't sort of read up what the concept is, and it's hard to truly listen to an album and absorb all the lyrics in a wanna. If I listen to this album another 10, 20, 100 times, I'll probably find out that it's very much a concept album. On to a song called Sunrise. This is a proper song. It put a smile on my face, and it just sounds like the soft bulletin and Yoshimi battles the pink robots. It's like after working with Henry Rollins and after recreating wildly experimental versions of Dark Side of the Moon and Sgt. Pepper, and apparently, although I haven't really listened to it, going darker with the Tremors, and it's as if the band has just said, do you know what? Let's just see if we can do what we did at the end of the 90s again. Let's just see if we can do it. And during this song, it sounds like they're doing it. Onwards and to the next song, Nigdy Knee. Song of kind of 2 halves. The first half a bit, second half picks up a bit. And then into perhaps the crowning glory of the album, Galaxy I Sink. The music is Radiohead. There's no beating about the bush. It could be something off a Moon-Shaped Pool. To me, it sounds like Radiohead doing David Bowie, not sexually. Guitars that sound like the opening track from The Prisoner, the old TV series of Patrick McGoohan, Arrival, the beginning of Arrival. What more can you want? It's a great song. One Night While Hunting. Reminds me of the 12 Tasks of Asterix. Remember that old cartoon? Don't know why. Not a great song. It might grow on me. This is only an initial impression. This isn't really a review. Remember that. Into the next song, Do Glowy. Do Glowy? Sounds like a Welsh town. This song is very much a celebration of the Bucket Brigade delay. To be honest, the Flaming Lips are always about old delays. Now, if you don't know what delays are, it's just when you put a guitar, or a drum, in fact, anything. You can put anything through a Bucket Brigade delay. In this modern world, we have digital delays where everything's crystal sharp. If I want to repeat something, I can repeat it indefinitely. It never loses quality. A Bucket Brigade delay, they're the old sort of delays that were used in the late 70s, 80s. The delays that use old actual electrical components and capacitors. Each delay loses a bit of the treble, becomes more bassy. Bucket Brigade delays, and for me the Flaming Lips are about Bucket Brigade delays. Always have been, probably always will be. Do Glowy kind of continues One Night While Hunting, but makes it a bit more Pink Floyd, and so elevates the album back up again a little bit. And then on to Listening to the Frogs with Demon Eyes. Not Demon Eyes, but Demon Eyes. I don't know, probably something to do with the concept. Reminds me again that Wayne Coyne, the singer of the Flaming Lips, likes a bit of delay on his vocals. He likes that kind of John Lennon sound. Now, John Lennon used to put loads of different delays on his voice, but it was mainly because John Lennon didn't like the sound of his own voice. He would often admit that he hated the sound of his own voice, and he was always trying to mask it. And I wonder why Wayne, the singer of the Flaming Lips, wants to do this so often, because he has a beautiful voice. But if you notice, pretty much on every Flaming Lips album, his voice is always affected, always sounds weird, sometimes sinister, sometimes joyous, but it always sounds weird. He's got this sort of signature way of singing high, sort of falsetto, and it's as if he doesn't really care whether he's hitting the notes pitch perfect. He'll just sing it and release it. And I found it endearing on the Soft Bulletin and on Yoshimi. I think there comes a time where I want a little bit more, but this is what he's choosing to give, and he can do whatever he wants. And you know what? I probably love him for it. Listening to the Frogs of Demon Eyes also has that Flaming Lips trademark piece of instrumentation, which is the really prominent bass guitar. They tend to mix a bass guitar so loud that other bands would listen to it and think it was a mistake, but the Flaming Lips want it that loud. The bass guitar seems to be the fundamental part of these songs. Now, if you think back through time, the bass guitar should always be a fundamental part of any song. Early rock and roll, jazz, whatever, it's all about the bass and drums and the interplay, but the Flaming Lips take the concept of the bass guitar and just make it loud. And when they make it loud, they make it proud and they make it brilliant, and I love it. Prominent bass guitar for the win. Listening to the Frogs with Demon Eyes is a catchy but unfulfilling song. And so on to track 10, The Castle, a dreamy nursery rhyme of a song. And another song that just goes to emphasise the Flaming Lips' willingness to subvert the normal mix of a song. Again, they're not afraid to ever put elements of a track too loud. For other people it would be too loud, and this song has elements that for other people would be too loud. Perhaps I'm too loud, but I like me, luckily, and the Flaming Lips like loud instruments above other instruments, just where you think, just uncomfortably loud. Perhaps the Flaming Lips are often uncomfortably loud. Not in a heavy metal way, but they're uncomfortably loud. Onto the song Almost Home. Almost Home, we're almost at the end of the album. And Almost Home goes to emphasise the way that the Flaming Lips have a consistency of tone across an album, a consistency of theme. And that the album will sound coherent, and from track to track there's that coherency. And if you're a band that wants to make a concept album, you really should take a leaf out of the Flaming Lips book. Listen to this album, listen to the Soft Bulletin, listen to Yoshimi. You'll hear that kind of making your album sound like that. And on that note, we get to the final song, We Are Family. And this song emphasises how to tie an album together. It has, this is only an initial listen, I'm not sure if I'm right on this, but it has kind of themes that run through the song that have already run through the album. And it just definitely ties the album together. And it's pretty beautiful. And the word for it is epic. And this is the song that Miley Cyrus turns up on. And she's great. I can't say anything other than she's great. This song, We Are Family. Dorothy is home. This is the end of the album. To sum up, I've only had a few listens, but this album is in the same ballpark as the work they did around the year 2000. It's in that same ballpark. I'm sure that the fans of their more experimental stuff, you know, albums, 4 CDs that need to be played at the same time, all that kind of stuff, I'm sure people who are into that kind of thing might even despise this album, but for people who just want an album to listen to, it's very nice. And perhaps nice is really the word to sum it up, because for me, it just needed a bit more. It's all a bit muffled drum beats and it's all a bit laid back, and for me it just needed a few more biting tones and a bit more crunch and a bit more proper drum machines that make a proper noise, you know what I mean? But overall, I like this album, and I think you should listen to it. I think you should listen to it. So, Oxo Mlody gets a... Thank you, my Mercurial mercenaries. Over and out.